making this video as a follow-up to my math test. You remember a little while ago I talked about my experience shooting at f4 for a weekend to try and simulate the effect of whether the Fuji GFX100RF was the camera that could fit into my way of shooting. And a lot of people flame me for it, and then also a lot of people made some nice positive comments and thoughts. And as I mentioned in that video, it was no intention of trying to flame Fuji for what they're doing. They're doing a fantastic job. They're innovating, they're creating tools and equipment that we can use to further the craft of photography. This is great. So this video, I actually got the Fuji GFX100RF, and I've been shooting with it in Hong Kong for the last 7 days. I've been shooting with it even longer. I've been shooting with it here in Singapore to make sure that this camera lives up to the hype and it doesn't, it's not hyperbole and just pure exaggeration and TikTok influencer styled camera hype. I wanted to share these photos, and I wanted to put my test, my f4 test, to the test, so to speak. Funnily enough, I'm happy to say that this is probably the one time in my life where my math is actually correct. And f4 really was a little bit slow, but there are some things that I found out in addition to the f4 that I looked beyond just the aperture and found out about the Fuji GFX100RF. So let me get into it. The specs you already know of. Everyone's been rattling them off on YouTube. Fuji's got a website which shows all the specs. We don't need to go through them. The one thing I will say about the camera is it is gorgeous, it's metal, and it's not as heavy as you think, which is quite surprising. The pleasant surprise about the f4 aperture is that I could shoot this in low light and hand hold it at 1/30th of a second. I was worried with no IBIS and f4 that I wouldn't be able to use this at night. But truly, the size of that sensor, the medium format sensor size compared to 35mm full frame, I never ever thought would make such a big difference in clean, editable, just beautiful files. That kind of crazy dynamic range that you can pull out of this camera really helps. And one thing, I thought IBIS is going to be a problem, but it's actually not. I've never really needed to rely on IBIS unless you're doing a walking kind of dolly shot or kind of these pan movements. I've never really needed IBIS. I've shot with the Leica M series cameras for the longest time. They don't have IBIS. Do I care? No. So unless, I don't know, unless you were follow focusing some individual filming a TV ad and you had to make sure that you were taking like ninja steps in order to make sure that you cushion the way the camera doesn't bounce and you see that ugly digital artifacts when you're actually holding it with actually even electronic stabilization. Apart from having a gimbal, which is the best, a lot of cameras other than the ZVE1 from the Sony ZVE1 and the Sony A7S III and the FX3 are the only cameras that really have really good IBIS. Oh, and you know, and some of the Pentax, Lumix and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, there's great IBIS as well. And if you are using it for a video application, that's going to help you. But this is not a video camera. But surprisingly, the video quality is fantastic on the Fujifilm GFX100RF. 24 frames, 4K output. It's usually what I'm shooting. I don't care for anything else. I'm not using the 120 frames and all that other crazy stuff. I don't care about the slow rolling shutter readout and all that stuff because I'm not kind of doing fast panning, moving or recording with it as an exclusive video camera. The style of footage that I get from the Fuji GFX100RF is B-roll stuff, is just beautiful little travel vignettes and little scenes that are happening in front of me. I don't have to change cameras and rig it out and then put on something and chuck on an ND filter and put on some other piece of crap just to get like 5 seconds worth of a clip of a cool bus moving past or a person walking in the street. I can quickly press a button, flick up on the joystick on the Fuji GFX100RF, and I'm already in my video customized modes. I can snap off and hold for 6, 1, 2, and bam, I've got some beautiful footage that can just be had on the same damn system. Just like the ZF, which I'm recording now. I love the ZF. Fantastic. I love the Fuji GFX100RF. I love the original Leica Q. The Leica Q3, not so much. I've got mixed feelings about that camera mainly because of its price point and some of the compromises of that camera. It's a fantastic lens, a fantastic camera. It's a great optimization, but there are some things that just don't quite add up to me for the price. And if it was the same price as a Sony or anything else, like a Q3 every day, no problem. I love that camera. I love that lens. I buy into the Q system because of the 28mm f1.7 Summilux lens. Fantastic. I'd even consider the Q3-43 with the 43mm f2 APO lens. That's a fantastic setup, but funnily enough, let me get this and show you. This is a pretty small setup. Like I've got the lens hood thingy here on it. Like, let's take this stuff off. That's a stupidly small camera. Like, come on now. What are you doing, Fuji? That's illegal to be that kind of small and just compact and beautiful. Like, go to jail, throw away the keys. This is beautiful, well done. It's a bit of a boxy one, yeah? So, like, compared to my hand size, it still fits in a hand. And I can still take this into the Formula One or like a concert perhaps without the lens hood, because I think even in the White House, if you travel there, less than 30 cm, you're allowed. Don't quote me on that. Look up the specs of all the different venues just to be sure. But it's a compact beast. You can shoot it at a slower shutter speed with correct technique. And I'm talking about, you know, none of these kind of shaky hands. Like, just lock in there, get the shots, you know, frame that up, Use one 1/25th of the second one, 2/50th, because it's a higher resolution sensor, but I'm not missing the IBIS. And that's a really good thing. Math, F4. Do I wish it was faster? Of course, everyone wishes it faster. I wish it was faster, but it's a compromise on size. And we know from the product presentation and the demos from the Fujifilm themselves, is size is important. I appreciate the fact that the engineers have designed this based off size. Do I wish it was a 2.8 or faster lens? 100% I wish it was. But surprisingly, the point of this video is that the Fuji GFX100RF has enough additional features, technical aspects that allow it to be a fantastic system without IBIS and without a fast lens. On a medium format, the 28mm equivalent thereabout lens with a 3.1, 3.4-ish aperture equivalent-ish, and high ISO. I'm shooting this thing exclusively in the mechanical shutter. I hate almost all electronic shutters. I like that they're stealthy, but I hate the fact that I am monitoring banding. I'm worried about rolling shutter. I'm worried about all this other garbage that I generally hate electronic shutters, unless they're a stack CMOS sensor like in the Nikon Z8, unless it's in the Sonys. They've got some fantastic electronic shutter ability, but generally I avoid it, and I'm using mechanical shutter, and I just don't have to worry about an extra variable. I can just focus on what I'm trying to create as an image in the craft. So all in all, I would say that I'm pleasantly surprised by this camera, more shocked by its fantastic performance and the combination of the elements together than the individual fact that it's just, you know, a medium format Fuji X100 Mark VI. It doesn't have that optical viewfinder thing. I don't care. I honestly don't care. This has got a beautiful little interface, and one of the most fun features that I never thought I'd shoot or even care about on this camera is this rear dial here and this aspect ratio dial. Playing with that, shooting in HEIF file format in JPEG, I'm able to kind of get these beautiful crops, and I actually spent a lot of time using these when I was in Hong Kong in the streets, shooting a different kind of super expand style, shooting these 4:3s and these kind of narrow 9:16 kind of weird aspect ratio. It's actually a lot of fun, and it actually opens up a level of creativity where you're thinking about what you're trying to create rather than worried about, is it looking correct on the back of the rear LCD panel like some of the other more premium brands that, you know, shouldn't. You're worried about chasing and monitoring specs rather than actually enjoying the experience and focusing on the craft. And I got a lot of keepers, not a lot of missed shots when I was in Hong Kong. I did shoot at 1/2000th of a second, and I had the wide zone focusing on, but the focusing on this camera is fantastic. And most importantly, the startup time is almost instantaneous. I'm going to turn this on now, and that is already on. This is, look at this. Well, let's turn it on. That is stupid fast. But generally, whoa, it's pretty fast. I mean, compared to some of the other cameras that I've been shooting, you click them on, they're like 1, 2, 3. You got to wait a little while. This freaking thing turns on like a beast mode instantly. So well done. Would I change any of the statements from my math video? Did I make any mistakes? Did I lead any of you astray? No. The beautiful thing is the actual test was a bloody good test, and it made me explore, test further, and see if it was really worth, you know, hiring one of these to validate it then. And then, you know, we'll see. Maybe I'll eventually buy one of these guys. But overall, I am pleasantly surprised by the experience. I am incredibly excited by what Fuji will do in the future with these cameras. If you one thing is, could you make us a slightly shallower lens hood here? Like, it's already compact. You've made it uncompact in a way, slightly. But, you know, small things. And the only other thing that I kind of wish was on here is, I guess, if there was a way to make like what Leica does with that macro lens function, that's freaking fantastic. I did get around this by just getting a Ulenzi wide angle converter, and I used the close focus part. I took off the front element and just got extra macro, and far out, you can get some fantastic macro shots. So anyway, maybe that's something for the future, but as far as this little video thoughts and monologue is about, I wanted to confirm that the math was right, and that there are some other things about this camera that make it far superior, that outweigh some of those minimal cons. I wouldn't say that they're massive, minimal cons. There are so many good things that they compensate for it in a way, but there are so many other amazing things that are going on inside the camera as well from a technology point of view that make it worth the money compared to some of the other brands. So the rest of this video, I'm going to share just a full-on gallery of some of the keepers, some of the cool shots that I actually shot here in Hong Kong, and I was just really enjoying these shots. So pure street photography, and there's some family shots in there. I didn't include them in the little montage. These are just the street scenes, and as you know, I process all of my photos using either darkroom or Lightroom. I'm not a fan of renting things. Like, I rent things to try them, yeah, and I used to rent houses. I'm fortunate enough to live in a house now that I own, or apartment rather, but I don't like the Adobe tax. I don't like paying an exorbitant amount of money to rent software for something that I use, but not all the time. I prefer Darkroom because it has a lot of the features of Lightroom, but you can buy it outright. So thank you for respecting my choice as a consumer, Darkroom creators. The other thing that I use all the time is RNI app on the iPad. My whole workflow is seamless, minimal, and just not a pain in the ass now. So if you are keen, check the description for the links to all of these different programs and any of the, the gear and stuff that I've shot. I don't have any affiliate links because I buy everything that I talk about myself, and I don't have any kind of affiliation, or I don't have any, I don't want to say responsibility, but obligation to a brand to over-report on a particular piece of equipment. I thought about it, I tested it, I hired it, I brought it overseas, I shoot it, I share. That's pretty much it. So if it helps you, that's great. And as always, please leave some comments. If you've got any questions, not an expert, but I'm getting more familiar and more of an expert with this particular system again. It's very similar if you've ever shot a Fuji. And if you do have any questions, drop them in the comments. And I'll, as always, keep creating, and I hope this helps. Thank you so much.